Welcome to 10 Minutes, everybody. So, for today, I wanted to talk about some experiences me and my buddy had going through those apartments, and really want to talk about standards of living and kind of some of the different mixes of offerings you can have as a landlord or a real estate investor, and kind of talk about the economy and what what it looks like to manage some of this stuff. So, ultimately, you can only offer a service or a product to a customer, which, the customers for me are my tenants. I'm the landlord. I'm the provider. I provide the service, the housing. And you can only really offer something they can afford. And unfortunately, with like the way the economy is and the way things are, I think it was a real eye opener for my buddy to kind of walk through and see some of the way people live. And it's real. And if you don't provide, and kind of the conversation him and I had to have is, or we didn't have to have, is that these people can afford only so much. And then what people don't realize is the guy who's the landlord or the person providing for those people can only provide so much because they can only afford so much. And it's really a bigger thing where the economy kind of forces these different levels of living, because if your poverty level or your low income families can only afford so much, you can't provide a value above that, or else you go bankrupt. And I think a lot of people don't think about that. So, it's like, what's the goal and mission for Kim and I? It's to provide service that's better than they would usually get from other people. So picking up the phone, making sure that we text them, making sure that we work with them as humans, making sure we have, I make time to have a conversation if they're struggling with something or they need some help. That's above and beyond typical landlord stuff, but that's the stuff that I think, is important to offer. The other thing is, we try to make stuff just a little better than the value we get in the rent money, and we try not to raise rents. We try to keep them, low. But I actually have conversations with my tenants to say, hey, I can do this, this, and this, but the impact to your rent is this. And that's the facts, because I look at every house as its own little, business. And if that is going to be negative income, it doesn't sustain, and it's not going to be good for me, the tenant, or anybody. They'll end up with me going bankrupt. They'll end up with a new landlord, and who knows how that'll go. I'm not saying I'm the best in the world, but I try to be better than most, so I don't know how many are out there doing that. So ultimately, it's a negotiation. It's a business deal for you to rent an apartment. If somebody wants me to put a bunch of money into it and they want to pay a whole bunch more in rent, I will do that. But oftentimes, people are in the apartments that they can afford. They're family economics. And it's just what we have to do to fix how people live is fix it on the big scale. There's the macro and then there's the micro. So I'm managing my real estate business in a micro bubble that's, has to fit into the macro of the economy, the main real economy. And, if the big economy doesn't change, then I have to continue to operate the way I operate, and I have to operate in a means to be successful and continue to be able to provide for the people who rent. So I think it was a cool lesson for him and a cool experience for him to see, number one, kind of how some of the people live, if you really are going in and seeing, what they're doing in life and what, their rent value is. And we walked away from it and we said, hey, we could never raise rent on any of those people that live there. Not right now. They don't make enough. It wouldn't be sustainable for them. But then it's like, okay, if you're entering into buying a property where you can't really raise rents, profits are at X, you can only invest so much in the property without raising the rents. So it's a balance, and it's something that I actually work with one-on-one with most of my tenants. If you got to take care of the bare necessities for sure. You have to take care of any safety things or things like that. But when it comes to really making things nicer or not, that comes down to the price points. And actually, when when you provide a lot of housing, you got to look at your demographic and where you're at, and you got to say, well, hey, what can people afford in my area and enjoy life and be happy for the most part? And you got to kind of set your quality of living and what you put into it. You can't put granite countertops and things like that into these apartments if you can't get that value out of your local economy. So it was fun. I think it was a good learning experience for him, and I wanted to kind of share it because some of my fundamental ways of looking at doing real estate and managing my rentals, I wanted to share. So hope this was helpful, and have a good day.